Good afternoon, everybody, especially you, Scotty, and welcome to the BFL Football Show for another week. Proudly supported by McDonald's Ballarat and Ballarat Toyota Nunny. Prelim final weekend, mate, coming up, but we should look back and have a look at the big weekend of footy and netball from last weekend first, mate.
Yeah, thanks for having me again, Brades. Another huge weekend of football and netball coming up, and we'll jump straight into last week's results.
I should welcome you. Welcome aboard, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Mate, last weekend, Sunbury progressed through their second consecutive grand final appearance with a really good win over East Point. Full credit to them, made a outstanding victory. Total scores in the end, Sunbury 19-16, 130 defeated, East Point 8-13-61. So a really good win there, and they have the week off this week, freshen up, and I don't think they've got any injury concerns, so they're flying at the moment.
It's all falling into place for the Eastern Lions, isn't it? They're playing some really good football. They've got no injury concerns. They've got the week off. They're going to head into the grand final fresh as a daisy. They've got plenty of time to think about it. It's hard to see them getting beaten, mate. It's all falling their way.
Oh, I totally agree, mates, and some injury concerns for East Point came out of that game. I think some better players for them. We know that I think Brady didn't play on the weekend, Jason Delaney as well, and they also got another injury as well. So
we'll talk about that in a minute, but you're right, they do have their injury concerns, and we'll cover that in a second. But look, take nothing away from Sunbury. They were dominant on the weekend. They played from start to finish. They were fantastic in the way they moved the footy. It was quite an even first quarter of football, but you'd expect that in a second semi-final. But after quarter time, they really controlled play. Alan O'Connor was all over Dan Jordan, and I suppose he took chocolates against him there. Their midfielder was super. Jay Cheap got him up and running from the first bounce. He was fantastic at the start. Really early on in the game especially, and Simon Clark, he's playing some really good football. He's sort of a barometer for Sunbury and where they're how they're playing. If he's up and about and playing well, they're very tough to beat.
And also Brett Chambers played well, I thought, as well.
Yeah, another good player.
Look, no, Sunbury have to win the grand final this year for mine. I think there's a lot of pressure on them now. They've been in this position quite often over I suppose a number of years now. Last year though, they finished on top of the ladder, and it was probably an even money game with them and Redan. We know Redan won obviously by a very small margin. This year, you think everything's going their way. They've got no excuses now. They have to win the premiership.
Absolutely.
And if they lose in Saturday a week, we'll obviously talk about the game next week. But I think they'll be extremely disappointed. And I think everything's fallen into place really well for him. Full credit to Rick Hall. He's got his side playing good footy at the right time of year, which you need to do. But we'll talk about East Point now, is that alright?
Yeah, why not? Yeah. He's managed their side really well. Their playing list this year, he's managed them a lot better than what he has in previous years. Like last year, they were coming into the finals. Jay Cheap had an injury that prevented him playing one of the finals, I think, and they had a couple of other guys that were completely under the weather. So I
don't know if he's managed. I think it's a fair bit of luck involved too. Like
there is,
last year,
absolutely.
The last
East Point's had no luck.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So whether it's management or bad luck, I'm not too sure. But I think it's mostly bad luck when you have injuries like hamstrings, etc. This time of year. Look, East Point lost Brad Whitaker at training. Didn't play on the weekend. Jason Delaney's I don't think he'll play for the rest of the year. They're really backs against the wall now. And just listening to Dan Jordan yesterday saying that he's disappointed. Everyone's been saying, well, they've done so well by making it this far. I think they seriously have done it really well. I know that they want to win on the weekend, but I think if they lose on the weekend, I think which they will, it'll be a really good year for them. They'll progress next year, young side. So
they've come from 7th. Big game against Redan, obviously this week, which we'll touch on a bit later. But look, they have performed really well, and they've played out of their skins to get into that third position, and obviously beating Ballarat in that first final, which was a great effort, and earning the second chance. But I agree with you. I don't think they'll progress past this weekend because mainly because of the injuries that they've had.
Yep. And Redan on Sunday overcame a 2-goal deficit at three-quarter time to run away with a really spirited victory over North City, and that obviously progresses them into this week's preliminary final against East Point, and North City season's over. So disappointing end to North City after being probably the premiership favourite leading into the start of the season. They've had some ebbs and flows throughout the year. They've had some really good patches and some disappointing patches as well. But I think overall they've been a massive disappointment, North City. Expectations were high and they just couldn't deliver.
It was always going to be tough for them when they finished, I think, 5th on the ladder at the end of the season. So they were going to have to take the tough road right through the finals. So to be up for 4 weeks in a row and win the premiership, if you're going to do that, then you deserve it. Absolutely. So it was always going to be tough, but and they came across a couple of good sides. Darley in the first week, they limped into the finals basically, and they wiped them aside no problems. But then they came up against Redan last weekend. who had their injury concerns as well, but geez, they moved the ball. They moved the ball well. It was a really good game of footy.
It was a great game of footy.
Yeah, and look, Nathan Horbury's inclusion on the weekend. I must admit, I'm one of the skeptics out there who thought he might not even play, and if he did, he wasn't going to have an impact on the game. This bloke had a massive impact on the game. I think in the second half, he had about 3 or 4 clearances in a row, which ended up going down to Redan's forward line and resulting in a goal. So he's crucial to their lineup and how he plays, and he's just a super footballer. Yeah,
you're spot on, Nunn. I only saw the second half of the game. In the last quarter, got 2 or 3 clearances, as you said. And he always uses the ball, never turns it over. That beautiful left foot of his is sensational to watch. And
Ryan Waite too was probably the best on ground.
Cross half back,
he just let nothing through all day. He played on Sean Lyle for a majority of the game and taught him an absolute lesson. Sean probably had, I think he would probably agree, probably the worst game that he's ever played in his entire career. He just could not take a mark. He had a patch of about 5 minutes, I think, in the third quarter where he threatened to turn the game on and take it a lot, but he just never really got his game going, unfortunately for him and for his side. So as we know, the North Ballarat City bow out. Have they underachieved? Maybe they have.
Yeah, and just touching on the Redan better players, look, Bretton Reardon's been a player that's sort of snuck under the radar all season, and once again on the weekend he played really well. So full credit to him and the way I suppose Redan came out after 3/4 time, and we see it so often that. They seem to be challenging big games, and they seem to be able to answer in a really good fashion. None of the huge talking points from last weekend, as I also touched on before, Delaney, Whittaker and Cooper, all unlikely to play this weekend against Redan. So you think that with those key players out for East Point, I think it'd be very hard for them to beat Redan on the weekend.
Look, they're still hopeful that Jace Delaney will get up. There was no break in his foot, which is great news. We always like to hear that. You always want to see the best players in the competition out on the park. It's going to be one of those things on whether they weigh up and throw a couple of guys in there who are underdone and have one last roll of the dice.
I've got some pretty good mail that he will not play. Simple as that.
You look pretty sore on the weekend.
Why would you want to play a bloke that's 60% or 70%? Play a bloke who's 100% fit. We see it time and time again when players go into finals underdone and just backfires. Play a side that's fully fit.
Brad Whittaker's got a hamstring, so you would think he has no chance of playing because you just can't go into a bloke who's with a bloke who's a little bit suspect, especially in the hamstring department. I don't think he'll play. And Cooper, I'm not sure what his injury is, but he obviously kept him out of the game last weekend and be unlikely to play as well. Yeah,
for sure. Now, Nunn, Redan, can they make it through their 8th grand final in 11 years? You would think so. You think they'll win on the weekend?
I think they will. And again, like we've been talking about, East Point's injuries, it's just not going their way. Redan, I think they just wrestled back a little bit of momentum on the weekend with their win over North Ballarat City. You could see it on their faces as they're coming off the ground that they're going to have another crack at this year. So I still think they're a fair way off Sunbury, but if they can get their game going this weekend against East Point and get a good solid victory under their belts, they'll head into the grand final with a fair bit of confidence.
It's really interesting how we say that we think that Redan are a fair way off Sunbury. This season's been going for some 19, 20 weeks, whatever it is. And Redan have been the best side for 17 weeks of the season. Come the first final, Sunbury beat Redan, all of a sudden everyone's mindset changes. Should we swing so much just because of one game? Do you know what I mean?
It's actually 2 games because they beat them twice in the space of about 4 or 5 weeks. So that to me, I think it has to give Sunbury the edge and it has to give them the advantage.
Fair point. Now, Nunny, Sunbury's obviously 8-year drought after winning their last grand final. We'll touch on this next week, but a bit of a prelude into next week.
Yeah, look, I'll put that in there just as a bit of a talking point to have a chat about. But look, I think they're primed. It's their time. I think it's their year. And as we said before, they've got no excuses. It's all in their hands, and it's up to them to do.
Yeah, I totally agree. Nunny, just moving on to the senior netball from last weekend, a bit of a shock loss for the the favoured side for this year's senior netball in Lake Wendouree. Excuse me, got beaten by Melton. And we spoke about Melton throughout the season, how much they've obviously improved, and just goes to show how much they really had improved by knocking off Lake Wendouree in a big final. So Melton progressed through to the grand final, and in what I suppose everyone thought would be the grand final, it's really the prelim final now, Lake Wendouree East Point. So
huge game this weekend.
Massive game. I think the winner of this game will be hard to beat in the grand final.
Yeah, I agree. Look, I was talking to Sally McLean yesterday at our press conference, and she said that her girls take nothing away from Melton. She never wanted to take anything away from Melton. She said that her girls had a pretty ordinary game. It's one of the worst games that they've played for the entire year. So I think they've still got a little bit left in the tank. So. But look, this weekend is going to be an absolute cracking game between Lake Wendouree and East Point. The last 2 times that they've come up against each other, East Point has led and been overrun by Lake Wendouree. So I don't know if that comes down to fitness or whatever it might be, but you can never ever write the Lakers off, and they're still in. They're not out yet, even though they lost on the weekend. They're still in the competition, and it's going to be interesting to see who gets through into the grand final to face off against Melton.
And I reckon both sides would know, just taking nothing away from Melton and all, but both sides would know if they can win this game, they'll go into the grand final as being favourites, I would have thought.
Although, Melton and...
not taking anything away from Melton, but I just think that...
You're right. With the amount of games that Melton's lost throughout the course of the year, whoever wins this game will have plenty of confidence heading into to the grand final. I agree.
Yeah, that's correct. Now, last time these two sides played, Nunny, East Point led by 6 goals during the game, then were overrun by Lake Wendouree, so... Yeah,
a bit of a concern. Stat that one there, we'll see what happens on the weekend.
And East Point obviously coming off a good win over Bacchus on the weekend, and that's why they've progressed through to the preliminary final. Now, Nunny, junior grand final day coming up this Sunday. 6 games of footy, 2 games of netball, gates open. 3 games of netball, gates open at 7 a.m. The first game of football will be at 8:30 a.m. The first game of netball will be at 10:30 a.m. North Ballarat will play Bacchus in the under-16 senior grand final, which is the marquee football event for the day. And North Ballarat will play Lake Wendouree in the under-16.5 netball grand final, which is a netball marquee game for the day as well. So, look, mate, a massive day, and I think the weather is going to be kind to us. The forecast looks okay, so shaping up to be another great day.
Going to be a huge day. First year that netball's been involved. I reckon we're going to have thousands of people here at the City Oval over the weekend, over the course of the Sunday. And look, it's just a fantastic day when you turn up to junior grand final day and you see all the families, all the parents, all the grandparents, all around the oval, around the netball court, just watching their kids play. And that's what it's all about. That's what we do all this for. It's
exactly.
For the kids.
That's right.
So, really looking forward to Sunday and can't wait to get it get it running.
Yep. And the football preview for this weekend, we'll sort of touch on it, but Redan East Point. The game's at 2:15 Eastern Oval on Saturday. Weather's meant to be fine. What a great venue to watch finals footy from the Eastern Oval. Just watching half of the footy on Sunday from around in front of the bowling green there. You're so close to the action, Nunny. The atmosphere's sensational. Yep. It's just great to be down there, and finals footy's up and about. Good weather, and hopefully this weekend will be another great weekend of finals footy.
It's just one of those great venues that has a lot of character and has a lot of feeling. And when you walk in, you just know, you just get that excitement about you. Yeah. You want to be out there running around with them, I guess. So it's a really exciting time of the year, and this is going to be a cracking game. Redan, as we said, they had a bit of a lull in their form, but they seem to get their game going on the weekend. East Point, a lot of injury concerns, but they've still got the big fella Dan Jordan up forward. So while he's playing, anything can happen. Yeah. I think Redan will get over the line, and I think they'll do it about 4 or 5 goals. Yeah,
I think Redan will win this game quite easily. But in saying that, though, you can't underestimate the position that East Point have got themselves in. And they're there because they've worked hard throughout the season, and they've won some good games against some good opposition. So they have to be given to be obviously I suppose respected by Redan. Redan can't afford to go into this game too lightly. I'm sure they won't, but I think it'll be a good game for a half. But I think Redan will run away with it in the second half.
Correct.
And Lake Wendouree next point in that, but I think Lake Wendouree will be too good.
Yeah, look, that's going to be a good game. I would have had more confidence in saying Lake Wendouree a week ago. I might tip East Point to get through and then go on to win their first premiership ever. Bit of
an upset. Now, Nunny, this game's at 1:30, so you can obviously get down to netball, watch a bit of netball, and then duck up to the footy and watch the start of the footy.
Correct.
Now, Nunny, thanks so much for joining us again on the show, mate. Grand final week next week, mate. Anything big planned for the show? Or?
Look, we'll come up with something. We'll do something a little bit different, and we'll have an in-depth look at the senior grand final, and we'll also cover off the junior grand final results as well.
Maybe Scotty Carey could join us next week on the show, mate.
Yeah,
He's still over there on show like a statue, mate.
So it'd be good to get him out of his office and get him doing something for us.
Mate, Mate, thanks for joining us on the show once again. And this show is obviously pretty supported by McDonald's Ballarat and Ballarat Toyota. If you're going to the footy or netball this weekend, make sure you behave yourself, have fun, and have a good time. All the best, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye for now.